第二个呀？啊？好像有点重啊。呀！
Why are we still here? Just to suffer? Every night, I can feel my leg and my arm.
So, hello internet, it's Lintus. Been a while. So the Spiral Abyss is hard now, huh? This is the Spiral Abyss. The recent cycles of the Spiral Abyss have been fairly hard. I think starting with the Wii Nut 2 cycles ago, and then last cycle we had Consecrated Beasts on both sides, and now we have Consecrated Beasts, 2 waves of Consecrated Beasts, 3 Heralds, and both Cryo and Hydro Heralds, they can freeze you. And the Baptist, although the Baptist is pretty easy as long as you have the right elements. Yeah. I think this Abyss is like a mixed bag, but I think that like this is kind of the best thing we can have for challenging content. Like, I don't know, like based on Hoyoverse's enemy design for the past like 3 years, they've never really had excellent enemy design. And the problem right now is that the combination of 2 big enemies with like really long combos, they can sort of like overlap their attacks in a way that it's actually incredibly hard or almost impossible to dodge them with just your 2 dashes. One of them starts a combo, then you dodge, then the other one starts a new combo, then you dodge, and then the first one is continuing the combo but you're already out of dodges. I think this happens not all the time, but like a significant enough portion of the fight where it can be kind of annoying and almost impossible to prevent damage. And of course, with 3 enemies, it gets even worse, as we see with the 3 Heralds on the second half, Chamber 1. They've also been adding a lot of enemies that can just freeze you. In the last Abyss cycle, they had a Hydro Aura and a Cryo Aura on 2 different enemies, so they're capable of freezing you. And now with the 3 Heralds, 2 of them are Cryo and 1 of them is Hydro. So I think a lot of people are annoyed on the fact that the first side has really high DPS requirement, I guess relatively high compared to previous Abysses. And then the second half has a lot of elemental checks. So for the first chamber, you have to break Cryo Herald shields, 2 of them, and a Hydro Herald shield. And then for the third chamber, you have to deal with the Baptista shield. So for me personally, I would prefer something like this, even though it is annoying to die to the Consecrated Beast and to get frozen by the Heralds. I would prefer this to something like the Wii Nut, who just kinda floats around and you have to like fiddle around with your rotation in order to DPS him properly. But there is also the question of Abyss is getting harder, but we are just getting the same rewards. Hoyoverse is very stingy with rewards in Genshin. I think because, well, they're successful, so they don't have to do anything. So they're just gonna keep doing what they're doing, and kinda there's no other game in town, so they can do whatever they want. But I do question this whole making Abyss harder and making the DPS requirement like higher and higher, because at some point it's gonna be hard for free-to-plays to actually clear the Abyss properly. And the problem that F2P players face is that since if they can already clear the current abyss, that means they have pretty decent artifacts, right? And if Hoyoverse continuously increases the DPS check at some point, the only way to get stronger is through artifacts, and artifacts aren't something that you can like build upon slowly. Like with the talents and with the levels, you can just go from level 1 to 2. But once you get an artifact, in order to get a better artifact, you kind of have to start from scratch and just keep rolling on the RNG of the artifact. So it could be like months until a free-to-play player can get a better artifact since they already had decent ones, which is kind of where I am at now. I kind of feel that if they increase it just a bit more, I'm gonna have to look into like 5-star weapons and 5-star constellations. Before this cycle of Abyss, I would have never considered 5-star constellations and 5-star weapons, but now if they keep increasing the DPS check more and more, then I'll probably have to look into, you know, 5-star constellations and 5-star weapons. It's called vertical investment, by the way. Should have just said vertical investment from the start. Oh, by the way, I'm not a pure free-to-play player. I did spend for I did buy 1 Welkin and 1 Battle Pass all the way back in 2020, but since then I was like the beta banner, and since then I haven't spent anything on this game, and I've been able to clear the Abyss since like 2.1, I would like to say, something like that, for around a year and a half. I'm not that good of a F2P player. There are a lot of other F2P players that have a better account than I do. I also like spread my resources a lot. I just build a lot of characters. And yeah, before this I said, why would I ever pull for 5-star constellations? I'm never gonna do that. But now it's like maybe I need a C2 Raiden. I do have a C1 Raiden. I got lucky. Or maybe a C2 Nahida. I'll have to look into it more and maybe I'll talk about it more. So anyway, yeah, maybe that's their plan, to increase the DPS check for free-to-play players to be forced to spend. But the problem is, I don't know how many players are actually going to make that transition to just, I can't clear the Abyss, so I'm going to spend money in order to get power, versus the amount of people that are going to say, well, I can't clear the Abyss, I'll just stop playing. And I think the second option is really bad for the player base in Hoyoverse's perspective, right? They don't want to lose their player base. And obviously, you know, some people will take option A and some people will take option B, but I don't know if Hoyoverse really wants to like push their player base in that direction. And if they do, I don't think it will necessarily be to their benefit. And of course there's people like me who, if I can't clear the Abyss, I'll just look for other ways. I'm not spending money. Like I'm not going to spend money in this game. Like I have a lot of female gems saved up, so I can just look for other ways. I'll pull on the weapon banner more. Oh, and there's also that a lot of 5-star weapons and a lot of 5-star characters are limited. So even if someone were to, oh, I can't clear the Abyss, I'm gonna spend money, sometimes they just don't have the option to currently. Like, what if they had Raiden and they want to clear the Abyss with Raiden, but then Raiden isn't currently running? Wouldn't that be bad? Because they just can't get Raiden's C2 or Raiden's signature weapon. They want to use Raiden, but they can't anymore, or their Raiden isn't good enough for Spiral Abyss, right? So I think that the way the gacha system is laid out, where a huge portion of the characters and the weapons are just not available most of the time, it's also gonna push players to the second option. Well, they just stop playing. They'll just quit. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this current abyss. I want to do sort of more videos like this where I just talk about the game. There are a lot of things that I want to talk about in particular. And I want to know how you're doing, how you're handling this abyss. You, the viewer, the one guy that watches me. Thanks a lot, by the way. And yeah, thank you for watching.